Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's Lair. I am your host, Larry the Chupacabra, and we're back for some more Ludum Dare number 32 action today, and the theme of this game jam was an unconventional weapon, and we've seen quite a few very strange concoctions so far, and we're going to be continuing with a pair of equally murdery and sinister games here today, and I guess with a lot of games with this particularly sinister game jam theme, most of them probably are a bit murdery, even if they somehow incorporate hugs and friendship. And on that note, our first game that we'll be checking out today is Uprooted by Two Scoop Games, a lovely couple of fellas out of Kentucky. And we play as this saucy carrot, who, as you can see here, isn't the biggest fan of being nibbled on by rabbits, which it's a good thing that we can become a terrorizing corkscrew of epic proportions and dart back into the ground and tell the rabbits exactly what we think of them and stab them off of their lovely little treadmills, whoops, or dive into the abyss. We're in some sort of Narnia-type universe where there's gaps in the ground and we're flying through the air without a care in the world. And also, I'm imagining that our power source, rather than solar technology, is actually rabbit technology. So that kind of makes things rather handy. And the carrot runner, or not carrot runner, well, it's Uprooted, but this game involving running around as a homicidal carrot on the run, probably from the law. I imagine we robbed a few pellet banks. Now, these actually kind of look like rats, like rat rabbits. We've robbed a pellet bank. I assume that's the kind of currency that rabbits would use. And we're trying to get either as far as we can or murder as many rabbits as we can. Which, pretty simple and straightforward. Both things that I do quite often here in Colorado, where Larry lives. And, there really isn't a moniker of how far you've gotten in the game. You can murder as many rabbits as you like, you can get as far as you like, and if it suits you, I suspect you can even backtrack. Nope, never mind. No backtracking allowed. So, Uprooted really reminds me of a lot of games out of the early 2000s, back when Flash games of many varieties kind of had their heyday. And we saw, like, a bunch of games, like, I think most notably was Cat Cannon. I don't know if any of you guys ever played Cat Cannon. I believe there was a bizarre assortment of, alternate versions of Cat Cannon, including Puppy Cannon, and probably Wildebeest Cannon, and Raccoon Cannon, and Little Billy from Down the Street Cannon. And in Cat Cannon, your goal was simply to propel your cat as far as possible, just to get a high score, and that meant aiming for things like, different explosives inside of the map that would propel your cat ever further than they were before, and, it basically just meant that you had little cat chunks, flying through the air at one point. Oh, freaking. So, what I'm thinking of for that is, the Carrot Uprooted game here involves a lot of avoiding these cute little rabbit creatures, and I think it would go a long way into being a great, almost endless runner type game where you try to get further and further each time, you try to increase your score, if you add a few extra elements to the game. So maybe we have a reasoning behind why we are homicidally murdering all of the rabbits in the world. I'm cool with that. But it might be interesting to see, like, rabbits with weaponry you gotta avoid, so you gotta do some timed jumping, because to some limited extent, as I'm charging up my carrot here, I can sort of control its trajectory, and I don't know how much of its controls are intentional, or how many are kind of just little cast-offs of code made for a game jam. But having to accomplish very minuscule tasks or bypassing obstacles in the game would be kind of nice. And on top of that, I'm sure many of you have seen as I'm playing through here, some of the random backdrop assortments, like extra artwork in the background, like trees or, I don't know, bushes, or some of them actually are these little garden plots. And I think it would be interesting if there were different items inside those garden plots that could give you some power-ups. They could be detriments, like maybe some power-ups are situational based and they can actually get you killed, and all sorts of things that could turn this from just a basic endlessly hopping and murdering rabbits. Not that I have a problem with murdering these saucy rabbits. I don't know where they're getting all this exercise equipment, but they need to share with Larry. That's all I'm saying, man. It's just interesting to have some sort of mishmash that kind of turned it into a really hectic, fast-paced arcade game, and maybe just a smidgen of, like, passive, subtle storyline that could explain why we are this kooky carrot in this fantastical floating island world that's a lot like Narnia. Did Narnia have floating castles? Maybe I have that. I thought there was, like, a couple. Not that, you know, you need any limits in a world like Narnia. So aside from that, as it stands, the game is pretty good. I think what I'd like is either a distance counter right now, or a kill counter for however many rabbits I've murdered. I want to know exactly why I'm going to rabbit prison, or veggie prison. And that would definitely help give me some sort of direction, some goal in this game, because otherwise I'm just kind of exploring and murdering animals. And while that's all well and good, I do enjoy some direction in my games. The other thing is, maybe it's just that I'm using Chrome, and I guess Chrome has been kind of a bad boy recently for behaving itself playing web-based games. But I'm having some difficulty really controlling the angle of where the carrot's going. I'm colliding with a lot of rabbits. And it's just a little awkward to control. I think maybe just shoring up some of the hitboxes here a little bit would go a long way to improving the experience. Something else that I've noticed, and I think a couple people in the comments have agreed so far, was that unless you go at a very calm and evened pace, which is boring, for me at least, it's almost like a leap of faith just about how much vertical space I have to see the ground beneath me, to see stuff coming up on the horizon. Maybe that's intentional, but maybe revisit the scaling a little bit on how the carrot behaves itself, so I'm not constantly just kind of like plunging into the abyss because I couldn't see the gap that was coming up and I kind of underestimated the distance. And that could be fixed with as simple as something like a little mini-map. You know, something like that, so I could see where those gaps are, because that was a double gap, so I could have over-jumped that little middle island unintentionally, and that would have gotten Larry murdered. Well, murdered a little later than sooner. And that should have killed me back there, but it didn't. So stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, the notion of a crazed carrot, probably the byproduct of genetic experimentation by Monsanto. I like it. It's cute, it's cartoony. I'm fine killing rabbits, because I have to do that around my house anyway, or else they get into the horse food and make a mess. So, you know, it's a good combination. Nice job, you two. Another delicious game in the old, belt of cool stuff, the utility belt of swanky games. Very nice job. I also see you've been involved in some sort of kooky cooking jam with, Starglazer, which sounds like a really... Was it Starglazer? Or maybe it was like glazing lasers. But it sounded like a porno, whatever it was. I might have to check that out. Oh, I reached the finish! There was a carrot patch. So this isn't an endless jumper, it's an endless carrot McFister. That's kind of cool, so we had to get back to our family. Anyway, nice job, guys. Maybe add some more kooky arcade elements, maybe some subtle story pieces, and you could totally evolve this game into, like, definitely a mobile game. I know you guys love you some mobile game development, and this would be really easy to kind of put onto a phone. Definitely have like an achievement for killing the most rabbits, and I think we're golden on that. Yeah, nice job, guys. Keep up the swanky work. Larry always enjoys playing your games. Alrighty, next up we've got Bloodshot by Rogue Noodle, and no, this isn't just talking about how Rogue Noodle, another buddy of Larry's, knows how bloodshot my eyes get when I stay up playing video games a little too long. I think we've all been there. But no, rather, Bloodshot is a game where we are this intrepid, soldier person, lady man thing, and our job is to go around rescuing survivors from some sort of crazy alien invasion. And the primary crux of Bloodshot is that our character has some sort of magical blood ability. There's something in our blood bits, our important life-giving juices, that does not really agree with our alien compatriots here. Yeah, they're allergic to it, maybe it's got shellfish in it, I don't know, maybe we're really into seafood, and so it functions as our ammunition and, as you would guess, also our health. So we have to constantly be wary of weird alien monoliths and flying sushi monsters. They kind of look like, what are those things, like the Nautilus? No, it's like, trilobites, that's the one. They kind of look like flying murder trilobites. So besides murdering stuff, we've also got to be on the lookout for these survivors of the alien invasion, and they're bleeding out on the ground, which kind of makes our job a little more difficult. We've got to give them a juicy transfusion, and when your blood is your life essence and also your ammunition, it's kind of problematic. And if you don't get to them in time, they just kind of bleed out, and you have to follow this arrow to locate another survivor. And it's a nice concept. I always like games that do that. Most notably, I've played a lot of games that use blood in place of mana, because I always hated dealing with mana as a resource as opposed to just giving me cooldowns or something. I always thought it was very often case of just like it's what people are used to, so let's just do that. And that MOBA Dawngate that's no longer around was a great example of you almost never had mana. It was all just about cooldowns for your character's abilities, and you didn't really have to worry. So it's really cool. And funny enough, I didn't actually realize this before grabbing this game, because Rogue Noodle was nice enough to send me a link when I asked for everyone's really cool Ludum Dare entries. But he was actually featured in a PC gaming article recently as really fun, really awesome, really unique styled games with unique concepts and different systems in them by PC Gamer, I believe it was, which was really cool. Congrats, Mr. Noodle. And at some point, I still have to get our interview that we did a while back out and published on the airwaves. So I think this is a really great concept. It's really great delivery, a simplified polygon world as if we're in some sort of combat simulation full of aliens. And we have really two options here. You save as many of these survivors as you can with your blood before you die, like I just did here. Or you can just roam around and murder the aliens, and really the only kind of fail state that you run into is just running out of your sweet, delicious juices. They have a flavor to them. I believe it's like strawberry. It's like raspberry. Maybe the aliens aren't into raspberry. But, you don't really have a whole huge goal here of saving people. If you miss saving 3, 4, 7, 10, 20 survivors and just wander around murdering the aliens, whatever government agency or rebel alliance that we're working for in the future, trying to fight off the aliens, doesn't seem to mind that we're just letting people get murdered. Though, to be fair, I believe if I was undergoing an alien invasion, if someone was murdering the aliens and keeping them from touching my stuff or making me not living, I probably wouldn't mind it all that much. Just so long as they were murdering the aliens and not getting me killed by, I don't know, starting an intergalactic war. So that's pretty simple and straightforward, but I think you really need a limit to how many survivors you can let die in a row before you fail. So I think there should be a race against the clock, really. You should have to constantly save 1 or 2 survivors here or there. Maybe like you call it like the tide of war or something, where if it somehow affects the rate of enemies spawning. The more people you save, maybe the enemies spawn slower, and it gives you a reason to not only keep up with saving 1 or 2 here or there to reset your savior timer, but it also gives you an incentive not to get overwhelmed by the aliens. Mostly because I don't know if you can kind of see from what I am doing, but as you progress, the longer you play this game, the more monsters that are constantly spawning, things respawn a lot quicker. It seems like the survivors die a little bit quicker. So I think some interplay to control that, just have some sort of endless game mode as like a sort of standalone arcade would be pretty cool. Aside from that, the controls, pretty solid. Got no complaints there. I think really the only thing that threw me initially was because of the angle that our character's at, some of the lining up the line to shoot things can be a little bit, just a tiddly bit awkward. So, I mean, something like shoring that up, maybe giving us a tiny bit of control over the camera in the settings or something might be nice. Or maybe just a hotkey that lets us kind of zoom around and kind of get like maybe a top-down perspective if the character really wants. But it's not really a huge deal, and it didn't really throw me for a loop for too long. And in general, I like the simplified environment. I like the gameplay. I like the concept. And I think I always gotta kind of spitball something for an expansion to a game, because I feel like a lot of games that get put into jams have a lot of potential, and maybe the creators just don't have time, or maybe they just don't think it does. But, you know, Rogue Noodle always does a lot of really cool, great stuff for all of his jams. He's constantly creating really cool, suave stuff ever since I met him. I've been following him since the Cyberpunk Game Jam. And, this is the type of game I feel could have a really simplified story. You don't need a lot of details or information, but just a campaign with maybe some variety of monsters that arrive as you go through it. Like maybe there's some crazy mechanoids that require you to kill them in a very specific way. You can't just spritz blood on the outside of them because they're hermetically sealed, because they're meant to fight in space. So that maybe you have to, like, get a new, like, blood bomb that some of the survivors have made from a previous segment of the game, and then lets you inject into a grenade some of your blood in order to murder, like, a big mech walker, and all the while you find out that you are really... The reason why your blood is so toxic is you're actually an alien yourself. You're a hybrid that's been sent to Earth to spy on the humans, and now you're saving us. And there's, like, implanted memories. There's all kinds of funny alien invasion-y stuff that you could do. And it could just be as simple as, we are actually the invaders, and they're trying to strike back at us, but screw it, we're cooler than them. Let's, save the weird alien-looking people, and, conquer them or something. I don't know, there's lots of room for different stuff, and I think that you don't need too much more in the way of graphics, just some different enemies, maybe some different weapons that you can find, some different abilities as you find out if you're a crazy alien hybrid mutant or something, and I think that would go a long way into making this a lovely, robust game. But again, as it stands right now, it's kind of cool. The only thing I would add, if you're going to leave it as is for an arcade game, would be maybe like a kill counter or a survivor counter that gives you some kind of score tied into a leaderboard somewhere. To kind of give you a goal, give you a reason to replay it a lot, because it's pretty fun. I kind of like using my blood as ammunition and then picking up chunks of aliens and eating them to restore my giblets to full health. A very nice job, Mr. Rogue Noodle. Got some smooth controls, got some nice concept here that you're working with, the blood as a weapon that doesn't involve magic. And that's actually kind of some H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds stuff, really, at the core of it. So very nice job. Keep up the fantastical work. And that concludes this episode of Ludum Dare from Larry. Larry does Ludum, whatever it was that I decided to brand this stuff as when I share it with you guys. And these games are all a whole bunch of fun, and thank you again to all of the people that sent me stuff to take a look at and continue. However, I gotta say that I'm closing out any submissions. I got way more games than I know what to do with already. But thank you again, and you guys have got the best enthusiasm. Indie game creators, coolest creators on the planet. Don't let anyone tell you differently. AAA can just deal with their jealousy. And got some more games coming. I'm a little busy this week on top of doing some of this stuff. So I'll do my best to get some extra video content going for you, because Ludum Dare is a lot of fun, and I believe I can still vote on stuff. So I'll be voting on as many games as I can, even if I don't have the ability to make a video for all of them, so that everybody gets all of the voting and like rating and cool gameplay that they just gosh darn deserve. So until next time, I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. Don't forget to like and subscribe, helps me out a whole bunch, and especially subscribe if you are ready to see more. It's definitely an easier avenue to get at more of the delicious video content, and in general, I play a lot of different indie stuff, so there's more stuff coming. So, till next time, have a good one, everybody, and toodaloo!